not only the graphic skills, but the legal background to be able to make art, Photoshop pictures, put people's faces in contortions with laws around them and evidence, documents, and so on that show crime. A lot of it's parody, some of it shows very real crime.
Yeah.
In all of this process, because as I said, this goes way back, I've kind of been tracking who all's around these series of events that affected me and then affect other people as well.
Okay.
And in this latest crime art production, I built a vanport for the house, put a big TV on it, and started showing crime art. In this crime art, I'm showing Facebook page crime that I put on Facebook. I'm showing crime art that shows unremedied crime and remedies are right. And a lot of it centers around government figures. For instance, Joe Biden. Joe Biden bribed, he was taped on C-SPAN speaking to the Council of Foreign Relations. And if you look at the elements of bribery, every element was met, and all you have to do is find one other element, which is that Ukraine got a certain amount of money from the United States in a certain period of time, and that was easily looked up. So I put it all together, and I put it in crime art. And nobody's allowed under the 14th Amendment and the Constitution, Article 2, Section 4, you're not allowed to hold office if you're a briber. And 14th Amendment, Section 3 says, no elector, senator, government, is allowed to breach the Constitution if the Constitution says you're not allowed to bribe. And Biden's confession, voluntary confession, is probable cause. And everybody knew in Congress fully a year before.
I don't want to cut you off, but let's focus on what I can potentially
okay,
help
the
you with.
point is that I started showing this on the big TV that I built, that I built a stand for a carport, a vanport, and the neighbor across the street is media. I don't know what media. We've known each other for a while. It's always been relatively civil, though I tell everybody about the extortions that I've had to suffer over the years. And there was no problem, basically, though I even showed him a major piece of crime art that is irrefutable if you look at the evidence that's within it and so on, previously. But when I started showing it, and I had also let the state police know about this beforehand, and I have emails documenting all of that. When I started showing it, because if you look at the crime art, it's innocuous. The state police said, "Oh, there's nothing wrong with your art," and I said, "Yeah, but if you put it in tandem with the video, then you have probable cause, and everybody knew, and then the media went silent over it after they'd written it up, and so you've got all of these." And mind you, if you elect a briber, then you lose it's no office, no authority immediately from the time you breach law. So now we've got $1.7 trillion that's been passed by Congress, half of which should be loose.
So I'm here to help you with this form.
Okay, so I was showing the crime art on the TV above the driveway.
Okay.
First time I was showing this, actually getting ready to do it on a regular basis because I'd put it all together. And so I'm videotaping this first practice run, if you will, in the evening. And this was 30 days ago today. And my neighbor from across the street, and as I said, I've told everybody, all the neighbors, they all kind of absorbed it and went about their business. They've got their own lives to live. My neighbor across the street pulled into his driveway, into his garage door opened. I said, "Hey, how you doing?" And he said, "Fine," until I heard that music. Now, the music was a little background music for the crime art that was showing on for a video series, like slide series. And then it kicked into Biden's bribery. And I mean, his confession, because I've got it, the tape and the video, it's been compiled, if you will, into the crime art. And I said, well, if you don't like the music, wait till you hear Biden's confession to bribery. And the guy went off. Never been gone off before, but he crossed the street saying, "Let me tell you, I'm going to put a bullet through that TV And, you know, I've got my videotape going and I've got it all on tape, including my response, which was, you know, this is against the law. I've got all the laws that show that you're allowed to, if it's true, if it's in the public interest, you're allowed to communicate anywhere. And if signs on your property and business signs, crime art, all of that, you know, you're allowed to put signs and information, show TVs on your property. And I know he's not shooting the big TVs downtown that are on the street. It's the content. And I've got this on a 4-minute videotape. Okay. I've also got everything else, and we're talking about 20 years of crime and extortion that's been unremedied. It started with intellectual property that I invented, and I've got all that documented, including stuff that went to DARPA. But I'm currently just trying to get the peace order, because that puts it within the 30-day span. Then I can deal with it formally puts me into the court system, if you will, because I've been to courts over this. I've talked to judges and lawyers. I've got videos because of altering court documents by people, and they don't want to look at intellectual property. Government people that can't look at property in the public square or in court have no business in government. Because if you're supposed to make a finding of each fact and conclusion of law, even if it's to begin with for evidence, if it's relevant evidence, then, you got to be able to make a finding, you got to be able to look. And nobody's wanted to look because we're talking about global markets worth of intellectual property that's on the market now, half of it, or it's been, cartelled away, if you will, by the extortion and by trying to slander me. People try to say I was crazy. They disappeared me for 2.5 years, and all of that failed, and nobody ponied up. Nobody can explain why they disappeared me for 2.5 years. I've got all of that in the background to this current culmination of if you will, of the matter. Now, I'm on my 30-day deadline, and you can see I've filled out all the form here. I'm just trying to put in the last of the guy's address, but I don't have his name. Yeah. And I don't want to go, knocking on his door to ask his name. Yeah. I don't really want to particularly deal with all the neighbors to ask his name. The brochure that you have about peace orders and protective orders and filing a complaint with the commissioner, criminal complaint, all say describe as best as you can where it happened, the location. I've got the guy's address. He lives right across the street from me, but I don't know his name. Yeah. So the lady at the who handed me the original form, I guess this one, said that I need the name to file. Yeah. And I'm on my 30-day deadline. If the police had appeared, I'd have the name, but I don't. I mean, the guy told me years ago, but I never needed to use it and never had to think about it, or him really before until now. There's always a little whip of, he never would say what media, but I've got all that filled out. I've just got to fill out the last of the Geiger address here. And I don't want to lose the 30-day peace order because in a way, the guy, I think he went off emotionally more than necessarily totally planned, but it's because all that information was sitting in his background. So I mean, he knew, and he knew the reason. I'm not really thrilled with bringing anybody charges. It's not my nature. I'm just not thrilled about it, but I sure don't want to be threatened, and I don't want to be a pauper because people refuse my.
So I can't tell you whether this is the person or not, but I can tell you that under the land records, this is the owner of that property. So I don't know. I'm not telling you that that's him. You do need a name here.
Okay. So you're looking at 3309 Geiger Avenue?
Yeah, 3309 Geiger. So it's correct that you need a person's name. So if you don't have the name, you can't file anything. Okay. You can keep that. You don't need to take a picture of it. I mean, you can take a picture of it.
Yeah, I tape everything because my life's dependent on it, Okay, just